remember at the start of shows, it's like, with music in the background, and then, it's like the shot of the person like with their name underneath it, and they look at it.
So old
I
school.
would pretend to do that. Like, I'd like sit at my desk and look back and like imagine if I was on the start of a show. God, it's so ridiculous. My mind was weird. Welcome back to Scoop City. I'm the Athletics senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
So we asked you guys to write in some questions. We put on Twitter, on the Scoop City account, through the Athletic, Chase, me, we all put it out there. Hey, let us know what your questions are. We want to answer some of them because we've hit that time of year where we've done everything we possibly could do about the draft. We've discussed everything from last season. So we figured, let's open this thing up and get some of your thoughts and questions. So here's what we're going to do next week. We're going to gather all the amazing questions you guys had and start diving into these things and put a little work behind it and get you the answers that you need. So what I'll do is if we use one of your questions, I will definitely message you on Twitter or respond to your question. That way you can listen to the show and get your answer.
Let's go.
So hopefully you can get a little shout out here on Scoop City. So we are at that time of the year where my brain is starting to go into the off-season activities of things I love to do, right? Like I'm already looking forward to the beach, some boating. I'm thinking about taking some tennis lessons this summer.
Okay.
Tennis
is all the rage.
You know what it is? My competitive spirit is unhealthy, and it needs to be fed. And if we're not...
Forget about the splat points that you earn. You need actual physical activity.
Correct. I am at a point where I need to destroy somebody else. Like, I need to ruin someone's day with my skills. So, but hopefully Dane Brugler, our guy, is on the beach at this moment. He did such a great job with the Beast in the draft. So hopefully we'll be catching up with him soon. But he will be joining the show. So he's going to take a little break he'll put the pina colada down, talk to us, and then get back to the beach.
So true.
And we're going to talk all things draft. And I think what happens sometimes, and I think those that were listening and watching us saw after the draft, a lot more starts to come out about the process, right? Things that we didn't really know headed into the draft. Now people are chat. So Dane's got tons of intel, information, and really just great opinions and analysis of how this draft went down. So he'll discuss that with us, but let's get right to this. We got some news. Here's what I'm hearing around the league. Well, it's official. George Kittle has reset the tight end market, Chase.
Did you report that's exactly what he was looking for? Diana,
4
your
years.
little Twitter spat.
$76.4 million, $19.1 million average per year. Man, he got it right in there. You got to get that in there to be the highest paid tight end. And look, we get it. Good for you. You take a look at the contract, and it was super friendly to the 49ers, I thought. First 2 years, $33 million, and $2 million of the third year was fully guaranteed at signing. $22.4 million is on the deal in 2029, which, you probably won't see. So pretty much bottom line, the 49ers are committed as a practical matter to 2 years. So after that, it's basically year
2 year, $35 million deal.
Yeah.
But the APY is 19.1.
It is. Look, I would want to be the highest paid too.
Yeah,
so
yeah. He deserves it.
I don't blame him for it, but my sources were right, my friend. Look, so, he's back at OTAs. He posted some awesome videos about it, about him signing, and he just looked so happy. His family, they had a little party, all that.
Yeah,
so
that was nice.
Very cool. First of all, what do you just make of the San Francisco 49ers getting this deal done with him? He's going to be 32 years old. He's obviously a main piece of this team. And there was a minute there where I thought, I don't know, maybe something could go down here where it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's, he'll be 32 in October, and he's played in 14 or more games in 4 straight seasons. He's a very physical guy. Like there's a difference between like getting hurt and getting injured, right? Hurt means you miss games. He seems to be injured, but he's always fighting through this. He's always playing. I mean, he had one of his best seasons last year. It surprised me a little bit that I thought they would get Brock Purdy done first, right? But they decided, hey, let's get Kittle done first. Then you got to do Fred Warner, and then you got to do Brock Purdy. Really, all the stars of the team. So when you look at that and look at his style of play, his physical style of play, 2 more years seems right? Like that seems like he could do that. The thing is he doesn't want to get away from the 49ers, and I think that's really cool. I think this is had to be done if you're the San Francisco 49ers because you really bludgeoned your entire team. You need a star player there, and you need someone that Brock Purdy can count on in the receiving game, and that is Kittle. They got rid of Debo. Ayuk, who knows how that'll play out, right, with the injuries and stuff like that. So I like the signing for sure.
Yeah, so he wasn't there for OTAs at the start, but then he showed up. The deal gets done. And look, there was a point just over a week ago where the discussions were far apart. They didn't seem to be coming to an agreement on what they wanted to do. So once that got out there, teams started poking around on it. And I know there was a team that had a conversation with the 49ers the night before the draft about a possible trade for Kittle. Second rounder they were looking to get in return.
Oh, what?
So, yeah, they turned it down. The 49ers decided to keep him and really move this situation forward by getting a deal done. But there was a little interest there, some poking around.
Why didn't they move him? The second round pick for a 32-year-old tight end, that seems like a really good return on investment, no?
Because going back to what you said, I don't think the 49ers ever wanted to walk away from George Kittle either. I don't think George Kittle wanted to walk away from the 49ers. I think they always wanted to be together. Everyone just wanted to feel like they were winning in the negotiation.
Could you imagine Kittle not a 49er? Like, it just doesn't...
I can't even imagine him in another
It doesn't
uniform.
make sense. Especially because Kyle Juszczyk, right, came back, and they're like boys, because he was cut, and they're like, oh, no, we're going to bring him back. Could you imagine if they would have traded him with his boy being brought back, and now, like, dang.
I want to talk to you about, like, where you would want to see him, like, where do you think it would have fit, but I want to be clear that this doesn't mean this is the team that called. It's just... or the team that they had a conversation with.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like what makes sense? Like, he lives in Nashville, right?
He lives in Nashville. The Titans make sense. He doesn't want to go to that team. You know what sounds crazy? I'm just throwing this out there. But, like,
if you say
this
Philly,
is probably...
I'm going to punch you in the face.
Well, Philly obviously would make sense. This is probably makes no sense at all. But the fact is that Travis Kelce has one more year to play. Could you just imagine for a second... those two together, because the Kittle can play 2 to 3 more years. So you have a backup plan after Travis Kelce leaves, and you get to go to the freaking, come on, the Chiefs. Like, that's who I wouldn't put it past Veach, but I'm guessing that's not the team.
Well, the 49ers got some other contracts coming up, as you mentioned, Brock Purdy. So I think there's some talk out there that they're far apart on this, and that it's going to take a while.
That's what I heard.
I don't get that sense. The sense I'm getting is they're closer than what we think. I don't believe Brock Purdy shows up for OTAs if he doesn't feel good that they're near a number that he's happy with, right? Like, that's how it usually works with players. Very rarely are guys showing up if they're that far apart. It just doesn't work like that. So to me, just that action alone tells me that they're closer, but also doing some digging on it. I think this is still moving in a really good direction. I don't think there should be any concern. As for Fred Warner, I mean, what is the problem? There won't be a problem. Yeah. I have a hard time believing that they're not going to make Fred Warner the highest paid linebacker in football.
That's what I was going to ask. Is he the highest paid linebacker?
Yeah. How do you not?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the number that they're at already. I have a hard time imagining a world where he's not the highest paid linebacker.
Yeah.
And just talk about another example of someone who is part of the fabric of the San Francisco 49ers. Can you find a better guy on that team?
Yeah, I mean, he's through and through a 49er. I mean, and honestly, like, if you really think about the team and the core of the team, Diana, they're re-signing the 3 core guys on the team, right? Like, Trent Williams, obviously, like, I get it, like, he is already signed, but they needed to do this, especially if they lost so many guys in free agency. So, looks like all 3 are going to be long-term 49ers, huh? Wait, hold on. You just glossed over Purdy real quick. Where do you see the very, very floor of that contract being?
50.
That's the floor.
I think the floor. I think it probably finishes at 52, maybe 53.
53 would be a good. I think 50's. I don't want to say this, like, get it too far into it, but the way that Brock Purdy's played. I don't want to say this,
but I'm on a podcast.
Yeah, I know, but I'm on a podcast. I got like, hey guys, I'm gonna talk. I think 50 is a little maybe disrespectful to Brock Purdy. And I know what people are saying, like, hey, if you slot him in at 50 right now, today, he'd be the 11th or 12th highest paid quarterback. Probably that's what you would say where he is in the league, right? You look at the salary cap, though, it's 270 something million this year. It's going to go up to 300 million next year. At 50 million, that's like 16.7% of the salary cap. There's a ton of other guys making more of that. Like, that's what teams do, is they allocate a percent of the salary cap to quarterback. Brock Purdy at 16% of the salary cap next year, that's a reasonable deal, and the salary cap's only going to keep going up. Man, I think at least 53 for him.
But haven't we seen quarterbacks over time make either the business decision that helps their cause or the business decision that is more team-oriented, right? Like, all those years, Tom Brady in New England, we saw him taking less. I know what you're going to say. I knew you were going to say that. I didn't even have to finish my sentence. I know. But at the end of the day, on paper, Tom Brady took less money to help figure out ways to grow the team and make the team better around him. So I think Brock Purdy's the type that knows that they can win. They've got the right head coach. He's got the ability. They've got their core people, but they need to be able to pay other guys. So, and does anything about Brock Purdy tell you that he's going to go out and cause all this ruckus and noise?
He seems like
about
a very
being
reasonable person.
Yes. And I feel the same way about Fred Warner. I actually met him for the first time at this past Super Bowl. I never met Fred Warner.
Good dude.
Wonderful. His wife, just fantastic too. Just really great people. So good luck to them. We'll see how that all shakes up. How about the Trey Hendrickson situation in Cincinnati? We saw what they did in the draft, right? So most people, I think, were looking at them drafting Shamar Stewart as this is the end of the Trey Hendrickson era in Cincinnati. And Zach Taylor came out and was like essentially shooting that down. Of like, this doesn't mean anything. This just, we are supplying the needs that we have on this roster. So I did a little digging on it, and I'm still getting really good vibes coming out of Cincy that they're going to try to get a deal done with Trey.
How? There's the money growing trees over there?
They seem to be trying to move money and get creative with finding ways to get Trey the money. That
Is he going to take a hometown discount?
How can you look at this and think he's not going to? And I'm sure his side, if they heard this right now, they'd tell me to shut up. We're not taking a hometown discount.
Yeah. But you're realistic. Mostly.
But I think he wants to be there. They want him there. Stuff could happen. I get it.
Joe Burrow wants him to be there.
Who is the most important person in Cincinnati? I think we figured it out pretty quickly here. We knew it a while ago. But I think this really doubles down that, with Burrow being adamant about them bringing him back. Chase, Higgins, and him, they're going to want to keep Joe happy. They're right there.
How are they going to go 3 for 3? Like, it's just like unbelievable that they're actually going to maybe be able to sign him back.
Meanwhile, they lost Sam Hubbard. He's retired. Alex Kappa, Sheldon Rankins, Mike Hilton, Trent Brown, all gone from Cincinnati. T. Higgins is back, though. B.J. Hill is back. And Mike Gesicki stayed with Cincinnati, even though I really thought he would wind up in Denver, but Cincinnati was able to bring him back.
Well, he took less. If you remember, Joe Burrow said, and no, actually, he called like taking less in Cincinnati. He said the Joe Burrow tax. And I'm like, I wonder if all these guys feel that way, but get to play with a talent like Joe Burrow. They're like, hey, it's fine. I'd rather play with him.
Yeah.
Hey, though, Mike Gesicki in Denver in Sean Payton's offense, though, would be woo.
I know people value money, the dollar, differently, but I've always wanted to ask a player this, but how come some guys are okay with taking less and some need every single cent? Like,
yeah, that's a great question.
Mindset?
I think it's just what you want. Do you want to just drop dead, make as much money as you can, and then be miserable at your work and be in a miserable situation or a situation you're not comfortable with? Some people are like, yeah, give me all of that money. You see a lot of times, though, guys that aren't like the best players in the world, they take less if they feel really comfortable that they can be really good in a certain scheme, that they really like a certain coach, that they want to play for a certain quarterback. All those things are advantages for the player, maybe taking less, that they can have a better career. My agent always used to tell me, like, there's probably some more money out there on some deals, but you're not in the right situation. So you have to be in the right situation. You're thinking 2 to 3 years ahead. Hey, if we sign this deal, where will we be in 2 years? If we sign this deal, where will we be next? It's always you're looking down the road on how, at least in my opinion, like in my situation as a backup or guy that didn't play very much, is you try to further your career as much as possible.
Remember we talked about this when we were discussing the Minnesota Vikings and Daniel Jones? Because remember, they had offered and the Colts were offering more, but we thought that the offense, the situation
in the Vikings,
Minnesota, he could have possibly, well, here's the thing, Minnesota, they are clear about J.J. McCarthy being number one, right? And so maybe Daniel did do the right thing, because we've seen so much support, so much hype coming out of Minnesota, which is great for J.J. McCarthy coming off this injury. And it makes you wonder where his mindset is this time of year, coming off this and having a lot of pressure on him, knowing that this team passed up on a lot of different people to come in. So let's listen to J.J. McCarthy on the path to getting back here.
I know I'm ready to start. I appreciate that question, Kevin, because all the work I put in and just the confidence in my skills and abilities and just being able to do my job and simplify things to, the best of my ability every single day and, just take it one day at a time, one play at a time. And, I have a tremendous coaching staff, a tremendous group of guys around me that I can lean on and they can lean on me. Personally, I think the more pressure, the better for me because, that's something I thrive off of. And, they always say the cliche, pressure is a privilege, but that's something that you sign up for when you play in the National Football League, especially at the quarterback position. And, I feel like pressure, all it does is just bring out what's inside of you. And, I feel pretty good about what's inside of me.
Sounds nervous to me. I'm just being honest. I like the confidence, but how old is he? He's green, man.
Look, that's the first
comments.
time he's really, he's talked to the media. I saw him do a bunch of different stuff over the last month or so, but that was really the first time he was talking to the Minnesota Vikings beat reporters.
As like a starter. I like that he called him by name. What, Kevin? I was like, that's a good touch.
Oh, of just like knowing.
Yeah, just answering the reporters. Yeah, come on, that's big time.
No offense, but they all read everything. Like they know, they should know. But I know what you're saying. That's an old trick. Know everyone by name,
I get
make
it
it feel personal.
I was very pro media, and I knew like half of our media's names. So that's a big deal to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you make of it? So
yeah. He
what is your hesitation?
It's not hesitation. I'm just trying to like it just looked like it sounded like it was almost like rehearsed in his head a little bit, but I do believe he feels that. I think it's just mainly like we're making too big a deal of this. He's just nervous to talk in front of the media, and look, he's a first-time starter. Dianna, he hasn't played at all. Now he's got a hell of a roster behind him. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he can do on the field because all this offseason talk about where's Sam Darnold, is Aaron Rodgers coming? I'm excited to see what he can do on the field. Just looks a little green there. Needs to work on that a little.
Yeah, that'll come. I don't freak out over bad interviews or bad
I'm not either.
Press conferences. I know you're not, but I think we just listen to so many different people talk, and you don't hear nerves a lot in the NFL anymore, right? Most people just go. But maybe that's just part of his story as we're going to watch him grow and see. And I'm with you. I want to see what he can do on the field. Vikings plus 475 to win the NFC North.
That's a tough division now.
Worst in their division, yeah.
That's a tough division. That's the worst in the division?
So what are the fair expectations for him?
I have no earthly idea. Because Dianna, the roster the Vikings have right now, it's elite. Like they have a really good roster. The coach they have just won Coach of the Year, even though he's still looking for his trophy. I heard him talking on one of the medias. They haven't sent him his trophy yet. It's all going to come down to the quarterback. Like, this is all great, and I'm not being negative. This is all great right now. I'll be like, hey, this is what it is. You're great in OTAs. You're great in training camp. Preseason, when the stuff hits the fan and you're between the white lines and everyone in the huddle is looking at you and you've never done it before, right? This is what the developmental year for J.J. McCarthy probably looked like this last year, right? I know he was hurt. He's got a lot of pressure on him. And as the Vikings go, and as J.J. McCarthy's going to go. And as J.J. McCarthy goes, the Vikings are going to go. It's like one or the other. I don't think they have a good enough roster where they can just hand the ball off, even though I love their running back a lot. They can't hand the ball off 50 times a game. Like, they're going to have to throw it to win football games. So it's going to be, their defense is great. They're going to get them turnovers. It's going to be great. But yeah, just interested to see how this whole thing works out. Because it is a gamble. Like it is a little bit of a gamble, even though they picked them in the first round, to trust your whole season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's why we've made such a big deal on this show about the Vikings. As much as Viking fans get mad at us when they tune in or they see clips of us discussing the situation, they had to make a decision and take a risk, and we approve it. Like, we get it, we believe in it.
Totally.
If they believe in it, good for you. And they're all in on it. So, look, I think when a team sends a message to a young quarterback coming off an injury that you're the guy, and they've done everything to make J.J. McCarthy feel a certain way and believe a certain thing, you can't ask for anything more. The Vikings are doing all the right things to build up his confidence, knowing that it is going to be really challenging and it's going to be hard, and you have a lot of factors playing into this. But the way the Vikings have maneuvered the offseason, despite some of our little debates about them and how they've handled things, I think in terms of managing J.J. McCarthy and making sure he knows he is it, I think A+.
Yeah, I agree.
Kevin O'Connell's got the pulse of them. Well, they've made it very clear they want to see how the spring goes. We're in the spring, so we're going to learn more. Alec Lewis, I'm sure, is going to be joining the show at some point this month to keep us looped in on how the young guy's looking out there. So let's take a quick break. We were able to get Dane Brugler right before he's really in that full hibernation mode of don't call me, don't text me, leave me alone, after all the hard work he did on the draft. And he's got some good reaction to Shedeur Sanders' fall and essentially what the heck happened there. We've had our theories, our reporting on it. Dane's got some good thoughts too. We'll be right back. All right, back here on Scoop City, where we believe that our Dane Brugler must have some caffeine IV just stuck in his veins, because somehow, after all the work he's done, after all these months, after absolutely crushing it over the draft, he's here with us, back on Scoop City. We talked to you last week. You're back here now. You actually look refreshed. I don't know how. So you let me know your skincare routine at the end of the interview, because we certainly need it here. I've been dying to ask you. I didn't want to text you during the draft. I know when I joined the show with you before the draft, we talked about perhaps the Jags doing something electric, and then boom, there you did. So what'd you make of the trade of the Jags moving up and trading with the Browns for Travis Hunter?
Bold, right? I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. 34-year-old first-year GM. To make that type of move, you got to be pretty confident in the player you're moving up for and the team that you have that's going to be on the field, because you hope that pick next year is not a top 10 pick. And I think the Jaguars went into this draft process with two major needs: corner, and then somebody to help the quarterback, somebody that's going to help Trevor Lawrence, whether that was an offensive lineman, running back, pass catcher, whatever. And they feel like they did that with one player and being Travis Hunter. So I applaud them for being bold and going after the best player in the draft, in my opinion. From the Browns' perspective, they made it a kind of a no-brainer for them. A team that has been they haven't had a top 50 pick in 3 years. It's hard to win in the NFL when you can't replenish your roster with early round picks, and the Browns just haven't been able to do that because of the Deshaun Watson trade. So to make this trade, I'm sure it was tough to trade away from Travis Hunter, but to add the assets through the draft, you pick up, you move back at Mason Graham, you pick up an extra second rounder, get Quinshon Judkins, you have the number one pick next year. If the plan is, I'm sure, to go get a quarterback if they need one. So, it was a bold move on both sides, but something that I think when we look back, we could potentially be saying it worked out for both sides as well.
Yeah, for sure. And look, we'll get into the 2026 quarterback class in a little bit, but I want to talk about quarterbacks because that's obviously what I know. That's obviously what you know, along with a lot of other things. Appreciate you joining the show. The biggest surprise pick for you, other than Shedeur, right? Like, I don't want to talk about Shedeur right now. We can get that in a second. What was the biggest surprise pick for you in the quarterback draft?
Well, obviously we knew Cam Ward's going one, and then in my final mock, I had the Giants trading up for Jackson Dart. That was the only two quarterbacks in my final. So I had him trading up to 26, and he went 25, so I missed by one.
Dude,
but
that's amazing.
But I think it was interesting on day 2 to see the order. Like, we knew the Saints liked Shuck a lot, so that one made sense. And then Milroe, after I reported a couple weeks ago that he got an invite to the draft, there was a lot of buzz about, oh, well, he must have assurances that he's going top 50 but he ended up falling to in the 90s. And that was an interesting, the Seahawks at that point, that was a kind of a no-brainer roll of the dice for them. Dylan Gabriel, to me, was probably the answer here.
Right?
A player who is a really smart player. He's a point guard. That's the way he operates. He's undersized, but I think it's a perfect example of how important the spring is for quarterbacks. Because I had multiple teams tell me that Dylan Gabriel was the most impressive interview they did throughout the process. Senior Bowl, Combine, the most impressive interview that they did. And it's not a huge surprise when, you talk to his coaches at UCF or Oklahoma or Oregon. He showed up at Oregon this past year in his minivan. And one of the reasons he has a minivan is so he has enough room to take his teammates places. Like that's the kind of leader that he is, kind of guy that he is. But he quickly became the captain of that team. And I think that quarterback, you know this better than anyone. It's an intangible position, right? And so the talent on the field is important, but how you operate behind the scenes, that's what led Dylan Gabriel to being a day 2 pick. And, we'll see how it plays out.
And speaking of what happens behind the scenes, right? Obviously, Shedeur Sanders has been a lot made of his draft fall. I think you had him graded late first, early second round pick. And when you watch him on film, I was thinking, hey, second round pick, exactly what it was. What do you think the main reason that he fell so far down the draft boards?
It's the juxtaposition of what we just talked about with Dylan Gabriel. He crushed the spring, and with Shedeur is the opposite. And I heard you guys talk about it before about the treating it like the recruiting process and how you can't go into this if you're a prospect and think you have the leverage. That's just not how this works, especially at quarterback. So, I think there were only so many teams in on Shedeur Sanders in the first place. So you already have the pool of potential landing spots is already smaller. And then if you turn off some of those teams and some of those other teams go with a different quarterback, you're talking about only less than a handful of potential landing spots for you. And so, we thought at one point maybe the Steelers in round 3, they pass. And then, when we get to the day 3 and the Browns, in the 5th round, I don't think they had any intention on drafting him. But in the 5th round, it's like, why not? If it doesn't work out, okay, we cut him and we move on. That's we lose a 5th round pick, no big deal. So it'll be interesting this training camp with the Browns having, chances are they're not. We've seen it before where teams carry 4 quarterbacks. It'd be a surprise if the Browns carry all 4 of these guys between Joe Flacco, Pickett, then the 2 rookies with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. So it'll be interesting in training camp to see how it plays out.
A lot of coaches and GMs and people that are just talking around the league since the draft have been giving the media a hard time, and people who do what you do, and even to a degree what Chase does, what I do, just about how could you guys be so wrong on Shedeur? And I've been pushing back on, I don't think anyone was wrong. I just think we didn't have enough information about what happened in the spring. There were rumors, there were gossip, but I think teams really were trying to keep that private. So a lot of the people that were watching the film were just doing it based on his ability, which is why he was projected to go higher. What would your response be to that when we're getting pushback that, the people that do this for a living have been so off on the Shedeur Sanders story?
I remember joining you guys back in the fall and saying, Shedeur's not a top 5 guy. That's not who type of player we're dealing with here. He's more of a late 1, early 2. That's what the talent says. And if Shedeur Sanders had Dylan Gabriel's intangibles, I 100% believe he would have been drafted somewhere in the top 50 picks. But I think we all talk to our NFL sources, and I don't know about you guys, but the sources I talked to, they still thought somebody was going to take Shedeur. So, we're going based off the information that teams, even if their team wasn't going to do it, they still believed that somebody in the NFL was going to take a chance on them, and, they ended up not. So It's I think the biggest key here is the fact that there were so few teams at the beginning. Like the Philadelphia Eagles were not going to do all the legwork needed on Shedeur because they don't need a quarterback. They probably they okay, we're not going to take him at 32. He's not going to make it to us at 64. So we're not going to do all the legwork required on a prospect like this. So there were a lot of teams that were just out because they didn't anticipate even considering him in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. So the pool of teams that were potential landing spots was so few that really changed the whole dynamics of the situation.
I want to go to talk to you about Jackson Dart. Go back a little bit. He went 26. You had him 25, or he went 25. You had him 26. I mean, you were right on, spot on. What made you so sure that the Giants were going to get Jackson Dart? And what did you see on film in terms of fitting Brian Daboll's offense? Because, some people are like, hey, reminds him a little bit of how he runs with Josh Allen. Obviously, Daboll was with Josh Allen. What do you see the fit there, and how early is he going to get on the field? Yeah,
I think that second question, that's going to be the unknown, because that was my big issue with Jackson Dart. I like the tools. He's a big kid, athletic kid. The competitiveness is off the charts. He was asked to do a lot of things at Ole Miss that he just won't be asked to do in the NFL. And so just how quickly can he adapt to getting to the backside read, consistently getting through his progressions? Just a lot of things he just wasn't asked to do in college. Now, it doesn't mean he can't do them, but you can't point to the film and say he consistently does this, this, and this. A lot of times it was one read, drop my eyes, take off. Right. Or, and look, Ole Miss was one of the most productive passing offenses in all of college football. So, Lane Kiffin's a madman. He was doing exactly what he should have been doing with that offense. But in terms of projecting him to the NFL, there's a little more of a gap there where you have to project, and that's where it's going to be really interesting to see how quickly can Jackson Dart adapt to the playbook and everything that Daboll asked him to do. But I think that after he was drafted, we even made the joke on our live coverage of, okay, how quickly are they going to start making the Josh Allen connections? Because
it's
obviously it's unfair to Jackson Dart to put that on him. Nobody's Josh Allen, but he is a big athletic kid with a good arm, and he's the one thing that stood out above everything else when you talk to coaches and players about Jackson Dart was they would not stop talking about how competitive he is and how he connects with everybody on the roster. Even like the defensive players were telling me that I've been around a lot of quarterbacks who kind of stay on offense, and they're good guys. But the defensive end told me this is the first quarterback he ever played with who connected with everybody on defense as well, and how important that was for the locker room. And exactly, and that is the kind of maybe what moved the needle for a lot of teams with Jackson Dart, and why the Giants felt like we can't stay at 34 and take him. We have to go get our guy, and time will tell if that works.
All right, machine gun round. Okay, just gonna hit you with a hot topic. One word answer, a sentence, whatever you're comfortable giving. Okay. One team that you thought dominated this draft.
Patriots. Getting the left tackle, and then day 2 is all about the offense. How are we going to help our quarterback, Trayvon Henderson, get juice at running back? Kyle Williams. He's going to be for Drake May what he had at North Carolina with Josh Downs. I think that connection is going to be really big for May. Wow. And then Jared Wilson, the center. They traded back and got Jared Wilson, who I think is going to be an NFL starter, if not this year, then next year. He reminds me a lot of Rodney Hudson.
A team that confused you.
Falcons. Trading a future one
man,
to go back in. It's one thing to trade a future one to go back into round 1, but to do it for that player is really risky. And hey, it might work out. Who knows? But they were ready to take James Pierce at 15. Jalen Walker fell, so they went with Jalen Walker, the higher player on their board. Then they come back in to get Pierce, who has pass rush juice, but there's a reason he wasn't on every board around the league. And so clearly the Falcons felt good about the football character and that they're going to get the most out of him. But to make a gamble like that, trading a future one for a risky prospect, we'll see how that turns out.
The move that you thought was going to happen, or a pick that you thought was going to happen, and you're watching it, you're like, this is it, and it didn't happen. You're like, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, I'll kind of do a reverse. Like I was looking forward to seeing Tedero McMillan in a Cowboys jersey. Like I was looking forward to that because
8 was high, dude.
Well, and I heard a lot throughout the process. Oh, McMillan's going to fall. He's going to be there in the 20s. He was not getting past 12. The Cowboys were going to draft McMillan at 12. And so there were a few landmines there. The Panthers, obviously, the Jets, the Saints. There are potential spots where they could go. But I was already looking forward to seeing that CeeDee Lamb and T-Mac and what that would mean for Dak and all that. And then, of course, the Panthers take him at 8, which most of us thought it was going to be defense, but I get why they did it. This is a Bryce Young pick the entire way. And so, Bryce Young, I don't think like in his whole career has ever had a pass catcher this style of receiver to throw to at Alabama and high school at any point. And so what this does for his development should be huge.
All right, when we look back at the 2025 draft, we entered it saying it wasn't going to be exciting. There was no big headliners. When you look back on it, how are you going to look back at the 2025 draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to kind of like what we started with the Travis Hunter trade. Like, I think that is going to be my lasting memory of this class is Jaguars being bold, getting someone that's going to help them on offense and defense. And then what does this mean for the Browns moving forward? Getting that future one, being in a power position next year. And, it's a pretty exciting quarterback class next year. There's not like a Caleb Williams or a Drake May where it's like, oh, there's an obvious number one guy, but there's a lot of talent at quarterback. And it's funny, Drew Aller is one of them from Penn State. If Drew Aller would have declared, he probably would have been the number 2 pick to his hometown Browns, but he goes back to Penn State, and now we'll be talking about him. We'll be talking about Arch Manning, who maybe comes out, maybe goes back to school for a senior year. So how the Browns, we'll see what happens this year with the 2 rookies and all that, but the Browns next year going into that draft will be so pivotal for them and for all the jobs in that building.
Well, the Rams too, right? Like that's what I was going to ask you. Your 2026 mock came. I mean, the Rams got an extra pick, and who knows what's going to happen with Stafford. You got to imagine they have their eyes on one of the guys you said, Lenore Sellers. I mean, Nussmeier. Yeah. Like, there's a ton of guys in that class. So, do you think that's probably the reason we didn't see so many quarterbacks go high this year?
That's definitely part of it. And it's also the reason why we saw 6 go in the top 12 the year before. Is because teams are doing forward scouting and saying, next year doesn't look too hot. So next year's just there's going to be a lot of talented dudes. And there were 5 in my way too early 2026 mock on The Athletic right now. Mendoza, who's who I had the Rams taken. Fernando Mendoza, Cal transfers now to Indiana. So looking forward to what Curt Cignetti can do with him. He's a really toolsy player. But yeah, there's a lot of talent at quarterback. And so it'd be fun this season to see who maybe emerges from the group as being the clear-cut number 1 guy.
That's awesome.
Well, Dane, I got to come clean on 2 things with you. Okay. One, and I'm sure you're going to think back to it and go, oh yeah, in our pregame show that we did on the football podcast the night before the draft, which tons of people tuned into, so thank you to those that checked that out. It's going to keep growing too every year. I was going hard that the Browns were listening to calls because I had known already that the trade was in place. And you did such a great job of being like, look, Travis Hunter is not a kind of player you want to vote. And you weren't saying anything to say that my info was wrong or anything. You were being respectful. But I just remember being like, I should have texted him to let him know I'm coming in hot with this. So that, and also I was on the Dan Le Batard show recently. We talked all about our favorite people to follow this time of year. And, I named Mel Kiper and Field Yates. And I did that thing I do to my family. It's like, I forget the people I'm closest to, and I never named you. And it was after the interview, I got up off the chair and I was like, oh my God, I didn't say Dane. Dane, you are my favorite. So I apologize. I did not say your name in that when I was listing them off, but you do such a great job. And I don't need to be the one to tell you. I can just tell you from the people that I talk to in football, they tell me how good you are. So I'm just sharing the messages I hear from them. So thank you. Congratulations on another blockbuster year. And we can't wait to see the 2026 mock draft.
I appreciate both of you guys. It's I listened to the interview and I was like, When's she gonna name my name?
Get her, Dave.
No, I get it.
Enjoy some time off, man.
Yes, go have a cocktail for all of us.
Thanks, guys.
All right, back here in Scoop City, where Chase, we've had a lot of internet lately. My phone usage has been bonkers. I know I talked to you earlier today about how I can't wait to unplug. I'm going to throw my phone in the ocean, and I can't wait to do it. But in the meantime, I have fallen down some crazy wormholes of just, I don't know why I'm watching this. Like I've been on another level of weird stuff. I don't know if did you come across the Stephen A. Smith General Hospital performance?
B+, B-, B.
I think he's such a great actor. Like I personally love Stephen A.
It's hard to
I worked
take
with
him
for years,
serious.
it is at times. Ryan Clark did this awesome like imitation of him the other day on First Take about how he walks into stadiums. You know when he does like a walkout and they have the camera on him.
Yeah, like
as if
NBA
he's-
courtside seats.
Correct. Like why are we showing this? Like I don't understand this, but it's awesome. And in fact, I get annoyed when ESPN doesn't show it. Now, I used to hate it. Like, what is this? Now I'm like, get me a shot of Stephen A. But it made me think, like, if we had an opportunity to ever be on a show, like if you could be on any show from maybe even something that was popular when we were younger. You know, I used to always watch Saved by the Bell. I used to always want to be Lisa Turtle. I just thought she was so cool.
Zach.
Kelly Kapowski?
Screech.
No. Ew. You would be Screech.
Mario Lopez, dude. Remember? Oh my gosh.
All that. I mean, every Saturday morning I watched that. Like it was all about
For
Saved by the
sure.
Bell. Zack Attack, their band. Remember? It was like the later series.
What's the Topanga one? Boy Meets
Boy
World.
Meets World.
Yeah, that's
I used to want
funny.
to be Topanga too. Isn't it funny? Like you want to be these people. Do you know what this is so embarrassing. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I used to do this. I used to do this thing where, remember at the start of shows, it's like, with music in the background. And then, it's like the shot of the person like with their name underneath it, and they look at it.
So old
I
school.
would pretend to do that. Like I'd like sit at my desk and look back and like imagine if I was on the start of a show. God, it's so ridiculous. My mind.
So what shows then for you?
All right. Well, for me, I would love to be on Law & Order SVU for a few reasons. One, the royalties, right? Because it's on all the time. Like, those people are probably the richest people on TV because the show
true.
just is always on repeat.
Yeah.
And I've seen them shoot Law & Order SVU in New York. It has to be over 10 times at this point. They're just part of the New York landscape now. It's like, oh, there they are. They're there. Because they use Manhattan. They don't shoot in a studio, I don't think. But I like the show. I think I'd be a great character on it. And I always wanted to be a lawyer, so that works. I'd say probably when Sex and the City was at its height, I would have loved to have been on that show.
Oh, man.
And been like the fifth friend. Because I don't really, like, I'm not any of them. Like, every girl's like, I'm Samantha. I'm Carrie. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I'm any of them.
I'm
but
Diana.
I would like to just be Diana. Sesame Street, just for Mikey and Joey now. I would love to be on Sesame Street as
character?
myself.
Oh, as
no,
yourself.
I want to be me.
You know what?
And
That
be
would
like
be
a guest.
really cool.
That is like a
you
dream
could probably
of mine.
make that work.
As like, I'm a NFL insider, I'm a journalist, and then like get to sit with Elmo and Oscar and
Talk Saquon
and
Barkley.
Big Bird and talk Saquon Barkley.
Because
Like,
everyone knows
come on.
about him. Yeah.
That would be amazing. We need to make this
That's the
happen. If
best
anyone
one.
has a connection to Sesame Street, let me know. And then finally, I would like to be on Bluey because I want to be friends with the mom and dad. I feel like we would get along. We have the same problems. We have the same issues. We have
Bluey's
a lot
great
of
show.
similarities. So those are my four: Law and Order, Sex and the City, Bluey, and Sesame Street. What about you?
That's pretty good. I'm from Texas, played high school ball in Texas. So Friday Night Lights and be the coach. Like that would be like one of those things where I wouldn't even have to act, right? Like it just is. People are like, how real is that? And I'm like, it's really very true. Like we had, between 10 and 12,000 people at our varsity football games in the regular season. We played at Texas Stadium one day, one game. I think it was like the semifinals my senior year. There's like 48,000 people there for a high school game. So it is real. So I think that would be fun. The other one is Varsity Blues. James Vanderbeek, right? Like he played the quarterback there. And that's just like one of like the funniest movies I think I've seen, because it's just like the coach, you're like getting the leg shot up, tweeter, Billy Bob, like, you know, all that stuff. I think it's fun. So those are like the two cliches. You know what someone told me is like, and I thought about this because this show actually premiered and debuted in 2003. So it's like during my high school years. I was a junior in 2003. It's the OC. And you know what's funny about the OC? One, I live in San Diego. I'm like, 40 minutes from it. My wife is rewatching every episode right now for the last like 3 weeks. She like binge watches it. So I think that'd be fun. And maybe Laguna Beach. But Laguna Beach was like pretty, I don't know.
I could
pretty
see
uppity.
you on Laguna Beach.
No, stop.
You would fit right. You would be a star on that show. The ladies would love you.
Stop.
All those shows were, I mean, back in the day, those were, that there was like a genre. Even, I used to always watch.
Reality show, yeah. Reality
Newlyweds.
TV, man.
Remember Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey? I love that show. You want to talk about wanting to be someone. Oh, I wanted to be Jessica Simpson. I don't know if I want to be her anymore, but back then, I mean, she was top of the top. There was no bigger superstar at that time.
With Nick Lachey?
Than Jessica Simpson. Remember how big she was? And then after Nick, she was dating Tony Romo. And well, the good news for all of you, we will never be allowed on any of those shows. So, but we are allowed here on Scoop City as we're going to continue grinding through May here together. We got our eye on the Aaron Rodgers situation, the Trey Hendrickson deal, the Brock Purdy contract. So we still got a lot of things to talk about. And of course, we've got tons of mailbag stuff coming up. So we got tons of football questions from you guys already. But feel free to spice it up a little bit. You can ask us some personal questions. You can ask us some parent questions. Whatever you guys want. We feel good, but we want to hear more from you because we want you guys to continue to be part of our Scoop City community. We appreciate all of it. So message us on YouTube, tweet us, DM us, whatever you got to do. But that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.